Without further ado, welcome to the Madness Table bonus action. On this death-defying question and answer session, we will be delving into the heart of issues related to the Neverlight Grove and the Bridge.
Dun, dun, dun.
And these are episodes 69 to 78. In which the S crew, as all are wont to do, skip out on legal fees and leave the Kingdom of Ember and almost immediately meet a strange friend, Ivan. After this chance encounter, heavy quotes, Stool guides them to a spore zombie-infested Neverlight Grove, which has a bit of a weird vibe, to say the least. After taking a close look and finding out that yet another demon lord and world-ending threat, the party decided to burn it to the ground and run. The second best character we've ever had. Do not correct the spelling of this document, Samantha. That's me.
Wow.
This is unbelievable.
Wow.
How
will your friendship recover?
I would like to apologize to Samantha and the listeners at large.
Thank you.
Will is correcting my spelling in our Q&A document, and I was deeply offended. And I'm used to Sam correcting me, so I assumed
No!
Okay, so
I only correct you when it's going to be something that gets put on a public-facing thing. Like if you
Samantha,
send me something spelled wrong for YouTube, I fix it.
yeah, Will corrects you when he wants you to feel bad.
That's right.
No, hey,
I do it for you. Will does it for himself.
Well, Will's taking out his
Will does it for
about
our
the last
humility.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a moment. I'm sorry, Sam. Please forgive me.
Of course.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Conklin.
Yeah, fuck you, Will.
I was provoked because I was thinking about the tragedy of Stool leaving the party, leading refugees back to the Grove. After that, the party encountered yet more demons. And of course, the bridge. But before we get there, let's talk about Ivan. Brendan, Sam,
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you trust Ivan?
-3.
3. Not much.
So absolute value 3.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, I was thinking around a 4 or 5, but to each their own. Hey, so Will, about the Goat Man, he is. What's his class? Because he seems to kind of his flavor and his mechanics are kind of fluid, as it were. Can you tell us a little bit about his class structure?
He has some cleric vibes, for sure.
That's what we were thinking.
What was that?
I think that's what we were thinking initially. Like that was the first little bit of him that we saw.
No, he's definitely got some cleric vibes, but Ivan is a tricky, interesting character, and I will not elaborate further.
Cool. So that brings us to our next question. So, he rolls with demon lords, right?
What do you mean he rolls with demon lords? Like he literally rolls, or like he's into them, or
they see me roll it, like he's with them, like that kind of rolls. Yeah.
I mean, he's white and nerdy, but
nice.
Well played.
Not necessarily. No.
Well, so he was talking. Yeah, he was talking about the mother, or like something of that kind. I don't remember if she was a demon lord or just like more Cthulhian, like outer being.
I was getting like Fae vibes, but
he is a satyr, so he's definitely of the Fae variety. But the mother actually is a reference to another Cthulhian horror.
Right.
and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she is like known as like a mother of monsters, essentially. And she is sometimes, I think she is sometimes called like the Black Goat. Even though if you were to look up her name or her images, it looks absolutely nothing like that. But that's just how every Cthulhian horror goes.
Right.
But yeah, he had some fucked up stuff going on there with who he worshipped.
Excellent. And what Ivan did join us after a bit of dream fuckery, I guess, is the only polite way to describe what he was doing. We made it to the Grove. Now, I want to talk to Brennan and Sam. Then we'll get to Will here. I'll share as well. Brennan and Sam, what were you expecting of the Neverlife Grove? Having Stool, that beacon of a character as kind of like our introduction. Like, what were you guys expecting?
I personally was expecting like the most akin we would get to the Fae in the Underdark. I was expecting very like fantastical. I was definitely expecting weird, like, but in those kind of vibes, similar to the way that Stool was. I guess I should have expected that there were darker things going on there and there, things would be twisted, but I genuinely did not. I just expected weird vibes.
Yeah, I think I was envisioning like a beautiful, like bright little cavern where all the mushrooms just like sing and dance together, or just like, and when they sleep, they just like plop in place, and like it's just a beautiful little place. That's not what it was.
It was not.
Didn't happen. Yeah, I was similar. My analogy is more akin to like, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like, it's a small world after all, but everything's a mushroom.
Yeah.
100%.
We're all kind of saying the same thing.
It was not. That brings us to our next question. So Will, how much of like the general fucked upness of the Grove is from you, and how much can we attribute to Wizards of the Coast?
All of Neverlight Grove is exactly as it is out of the book.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that is 100% Wizards of the Coast.
Including the Garden of Welcome and Zuckmoy's Cavern.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Everything is straight out of the book. The only thing they didn't do was make the back half of the map for Neverlight Grove and like a more detailed map of the Garden of Welcome, or as they call it in here, the Garden of Horror. But there was also a lot more potential, but like I felt you guys did a really good job, especially with how you solidified your relationship with Stool. There's a whole other beginning section where you actually have to do some favors for the sovereigns, Basidia and Philo, where you actually have to go back into the beginning area, which is known as like the fungal wilds. And you have to take care of some of the like zombied creatures that they had taken over because they started kind of going mad. And this is the first time that Basidia is supposed to like come to the party and be like, hey, not everything's okay here. Can you go check it out? And that's supposed to be like your first inkling of like, okay, that's weird that these like this is supposed to be something totally normal. These spores creatures should be totally under their control. But you did a really good job of one, being good friends with Stool and using those relationships to like get in there, that I was like, it's so unnecessary for you guys to have to go through that whole moment. But yeah, it was 100% all Wizards of the Coast there. And like this image that I showed you guys, that's her tower. That's straight out of the book for what you get as to like, if we were playing in person, this is what I would have shown you in it. And it's called Yggdrasil. That's what that giant mushroom tower is. It's supposed to be like Yggdrasil. But this dark fungal version of it.
Oh, like the Tree of Death.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact too, I was going through my notes of the section. You had actually mentioned when we tried to get information on Zugtmoy, she shares a layer of the abyss with Jubilex.
She does, yeah.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of interesting lore there as well. But going really quickly to your thoughts as to how you thought Neverlight Grove was supposed to be, if Zugtmoy wasn't there and like trying to exert her control, basically all your images are spot on. And like you would have, if she hadn't been corrupting circles, it really would have been like they spend their evenings, like Sam thought, they like go plunk themselves in their little circles and they literally sing to each other like kumbaya and just sit there and wiggle as little mushrooms. And then they spend their entire time during the day like gardeners of themselves. They cultivate new myconid spores and sprouts and all that stuff. And it's supposed to be truly one of the most idyllic places, which makes Zugtmoy's influence so much more horrifying later on.
Oh, well said. And I personally like the wedding processional scene was just like so deeply creepy to me.
So dark. I mean, it really is both between the wedding and Neverlight. It's a true corruption of things that should be totally pure.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah,
said.
they did a really, this is like one of the shortest chapters, and they did a really good job laying on the creep factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things, and this is like kind of less of a question, more of just like a comment, I guess, but like the Grove and what came soon after really set the stage for how truly prolific these demon lords are in the Underdark. There are so many. We're stumbling on one and the other, which just when you think about how vast the Underdark is and how infinitely more vast the Abyss is, we got some problem over here. Like, if you're going to ballpark a number, Will, how many demon lords are you say like like not just like named demon lords, but like if you're going to like gut check it, like how many demon lords are out here?
You mean in the terms of this book, or how many in D&D mythos?
Just like how many demon lords are in your Underdark?
I can't tell you that.
You're legally required.
I love the dead silence of that.
He's only legally required if someone else
dare you?
asks.
Yeah.
I will have my lawyer send over my NDA, but I'm afraid I can't disclose that information at this time.
I mean, a good answer, like an answer acceptable, at least 2.
At least 2. You've got at least 2.
There's at least 2.
Hey, you know what? You know what? I'll throw you a bone. There's at least 3.
Damn.
4?
Guys, we have fully met 5. Okay.
Have we?
Yeah, we got the boy from the cover.
Right.
We got
we got Demogorgon,
Sagua,
right?
Dagon.
Well, so yeah. So these are not all the same classification of monsters though. We've started to hint at that or like figure that out. Is like some of them are demon princes, some of them make demon princes
lords.
scared.
Yeah.
Like
oh, true.
Like, I think Dagon falls more in the second category.
Yeah, the creature who was in the abyss before the abyss was populated by demons. Yeah, that might be a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gratz. We meet Yangzu in the next few episodes. Orcus.
You mean who?
Yang, the Knoll guy.
Yeah, the Knoll
guy who make up the Knolls.
Yanogu.
Oh yeah, that's how you say it.
Well, you also like the Sagua. That was an aspect. That was him.
True.
They've
exerted influence.
Well, we know he's there.
Talk of you haven't met.
True.
Jubilex, you've only heard mention of their name, and you met an empowered servant. So like you're dead on. Like you have seen Demogorgon, you've seen Zugtmoy, and one of your characters was linked to Grazit. So like, and then there's Dagon. So you've got 4 for sure that are fucking up shit in the Underdark right now.
Well, let's not forget. We'll talk about this maybe shortly.
Yeah.
But another one is now very linked to one of the current party members.
But actually, let's go ahead. Let's get head over heels into it. After we commit, we make Zugmoy. We say, no, thank you. We commit regicide. We send the fungal battalion with Stool back to Din Cairn. And we find ourselves back on the road, meeting first we meet a funny little Owlin who gives us a map that warns us about some stuff that we then find out is actually a huge problem because we find ourselves at the bridge.
Yeah, pretty sure one of the papers that we got from the Owlin was like, don't go to the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
We were being chased by all those gnolls.
It's true.
And we find ourselves there and facing off against a couple minotaurs on a thin piece of rock. Things did not go as planned. Does anyone have any regrets? And also, let me just real quick, spoiler alert. This is all in reference to the fact that both Ivan and Sephel get punted off the bridge like so many deflated soccer balls. After what I will say is one of our most intense battles.
Yeah.
Not nearly the CR of some of the fights you're taking on, but the threat of falling creates an incredible tense atmosphere to this battle. Was there anything y'all would have done differently?
It was the threat of falling and the fact that our spells weren't working. Because we had teleportation.
Yeah.
But my Misty Step didn't work. My Dimension Door didn't work. Sephel's Vortex Warp didn't work.
And it was a random roll to determine which school of magic would be affected by the Ferez. And that's where it came up on, because it's usually you guys have figured it out because I was asking early on in the beginning like an idiot instead of just looking up the spells you were casting. It's usually divination or divine magic that gets messed up the most by the Ferez, but there are sections where it's like anything can happen with it, and then sometimes it just legitimately won't work. And we rolled for that, so that instantly boosts the CR up. The threat of falling boosts the CR up, because I think Minotaurs are only like a CR 3 in 5e.
Yeah, they got a high strength score and home field advantage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of their gnarliest attacks is due to their charge, which we were on a straight line path the whole time.
Nowhere to go.
I think you and I talked about this, Andrew, that our biggest regret was we should have just went in and kept swinging and swinging and swinging. And instead we were like, I think we were trying to move and like trying to save people who were like starting to fall. And had we just been hitting the Minotaur, we'd have been okay.
Yeah. This is one of the fights where I very much learned as the paladin, you're a DPS, and the thing you do best is hit hard, hit fast, and pump HP out of your enemies.
Yeah.
And I try to play too much finesse in this case. Tried to outthink it where I got to out hit it.
I wouldn't call it a regret, but like that was very much the only thing Sephel could do. I remember every single round my entire turn went to. The magic was, I believe, a rolled chance. It was like the Ferez was fucking with spells. You had to roll to see if your spell worked. And I got lucky quite a few times to be able to use Vortex Warp. Otherwise, multiple times there were people going over the edge. But that was my entire turn every time. So I really felt like I couldn't do anything in that fight other than nope, get back up there. Nope, get back up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It really rang a bell for me with like I remember in one of our first fights in like the Broken Castle with Will. He's kept being like, "What school of magic is that? Dang. What school of magic? Dang." And it was like, "Oh, this is the kind of effect that the Ferez can have.
Yeah,
it can be a game." Altering, combat altering in the same way that these madness rolls like the stress our characters are under and the environment of the Underdark itself really can conspire with or against your character, which makes these encounters all the more exciting.
I will say, I think this was the first combat that you guys had been introduced to where I also set out with the intention of, while not like blatantly trying to antagonize you and just be like, I'm going to out DPS you and put you in the ground. This was the first time that has kind of set a new precedent for me as a DM to you all, especially for this campaign, of designing encounters that may not always necessarily be a fight for your life, but it is going to challenge you in far different ways. Because like you guys have designed amazing characters, both role play and mechanically. And this was like the first time, because I'm thinking about our episode 100s and then getting into the Pudding King fight, where like, to me, that was one of the most satisfying moments. And this was this moment before that where I was like, that felt great because it challenged you guys in a different way, both as players and as characters. And like, I don't know if you guys ever noticed it, but both your characters and how you play the game really changed a lot after this fight. And it was so cool to watch as your DM.
I remember us talking personally away from game after that, because I was frustrated after everything. I was like, that was such a stupid fight. Like that shouldn't have been hard. And it was like, we were players that were very used to combat is all about bags of hit points and one of them will fall before the other. And this was one of the first ones that it was really, this is difficult, not because of HP, but because of the environment, because of external factors.
Yeah, well, the one that stood out for me before the bridge was way at the beginning, and it was in the water against the Grell.
Yeah.
That
was hard.
That was a big turning point for us, like as a team. And like, I remember there was a lot of frustration of like, nobody can swim.
Yeah.
Well,
you didn't have
none of us knew how drowning worked. It was like,
right. Suffocation,
Yeah. No, that's true. We did have a hint of that very early on. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, like that fight, that battle with the Grell, and this one involved a character falling beneath the others. In this case, it was not able to be retrieved. Sephel, the final original member of the party, goes down, and your New Year's resolution officially fails.
Well,
how you feeling, bud?
No, you're right. I think I was at peace with the fact that Sephel was going to die about halfway through that battle, because the whole slipping thing, if I remember correct, it was all strength checks. It was
I think it was dex checks.
Sure.
Dex.
Yeah. It was like
I
dex
think you're
to
right.
catch yourself, and then it might have been, I think
it was strength to pull yourself back up or something. But either way, like two things that Sephel is not good at. So as soon as that became a factor, I was like, oh, he cannot be the one on the receiving end of this, or it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And then the fact that I was losing entire turns to keeping other people alive, and then I was at the mercy of whatever happened that round. I knew that, I just had a feeling that Sephel was going over. So when it happened, I was like, it was not a matter of if, it was when.
Well,
it hurt.
Yeah, I feel like the follow-up question for Will is like, why did Ivan die? What was Ivan going to do?
Yeah, why did he swan dive?
He swan dived.
I can't reveal any of that, actually.
That's a good
I fucking know
answer.
why. I fucking know why. I've said it. He won't admit it, but I've said it.
We'll say it here. Say it now.
Saying?
I think. Well, we're getting into the stuff that happens after the fall, but I think that Ivan and Orcus are connected in some way.
Interesting.
Spicy.
Because one goat man was on top of the bridge, and then a similar goat bull creature was under the bridge. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because Sephel's dead, but he certainly ain't gone. But
Right.
Brendan will take us through the discussion. We'll talk more about Sephel and his journeys in a future episode. But this decision for Sel to die, to then very quickly realize he is not gone from us, as we get a scene right after the fall of Orcus raising him.
Yeah.
But then he decides to go away. How is that decision reached to take Sephel out of the party for a while as he gets his life together?
So that was entirely my decision. That was so Sephel fell. Will painted this beautiful scene post game. He asked me to stay after the recording, and basically there was a conversation of this is the rundown with Orcus. This is the situation. And I sat with it for I think a day or two. I can't remember how quickly I messaged him.
It was a couple of days.
Yeah. But I think I messaged him first, and then I called him on the way home from work, and I was like, I can't see a scenario where Sephel just gets back with the party and moves on to Blingdenstone like nothing happened. Like, the game has shifted so much for him as a character that is so about control, especially over himself. That's sort of been a through line for him through everything, has been his ability to control himself and through that other things. And the complete lack of control, the fact of him being at the mercy of something so awful and so much bigger than him that he could not see a way out of. And the tactician in him that was always very, if someone is not a help to you, they are a hindrance. If someone is not helping you survive, they are slowly killing you. He could not be that for the party. So I called Will and I'm like, it might be an episode, it might be 10, I don't know, but he can't just get back up on that bridge and walk.
You heard it here first, folks. Sephel had to walk away. But a new character walked into our lives. His name was Hestor. Brendan, why?
So Hestor, well, obviously because my first love died. No, Hestor was meant originally to simply be, like in full honesty, I did build him as a transition character. I built him as like, this person needs to have a short-term goal. He should be more connected with the city of Blingdenstone than he is with the party. And basically he is there to help them with their current goal for the sake of, for the sake of the narrative, for the sake of making sense to be with them. And then they would help him, and he would ultimately either stay with them until they found their recently lost friend, or until he came back or whatever. It was Hestor originally was just a stopgap of, okay, well, if I'm volunteering Sephel to walk away, who's there in the interim? And then Will and I talked about him, and just like the lore got so much deeper, the connections got so much deeper as they do. And yeah, I've grown rather fond. His goal hasn't changed. Like he is and always will be a gnome who is, while he has that traditional wanderlust, he's a homeboy. He's a homeboy, and he's there for his people, and he always will be. Yeah, that was sort of the start anyway.
Beautiful. And I think it's a beautiful place to leave, because we have a lot more to get into when we get into Blingdenstone during our next bonus action. But behind the scenes here, friends, we have a little thing to get into, because back when we were recording these last few episodes, Will made a reference to being a part of a horny online production of Julius Caesar.
I do remember that.
He said that he would tell us about it if we brought it up in a bonus action. So, Will, how did you blaspheme the bard? in this sensual production.
Yeah,
Let's not pretend like Shakespeare wasn't a horn dog.
Yeah, no. If anybody ever says Shakespeare was not perverted, they know nothing about the bard. So as many people know, I'm an actor, and this was in the midst of COVID, the heavy times. And there was like nothing going on, but this small new company decided they were going to put on a bunch of like one act plays. And what they did is they held a competition for writers, and they could submit. And then the company chose 5 that they were then going to put on. And then they held auditions. I had a friend who was like, hey, they've got some really good one acts. I know the director. They've seen you in another show. They'd love for you to audition. So I did it. I didn't have a choice as to what I was going to be cast in, but I got cast in 2. Both were definitely of the almost verging on smut. Well, one was almost verging on that. The other one was a straight up like play about a porno. And that is, I looked up, I went through my email and I pulled it up. It's called Octavian Augustus, A Tale of Topping by Nick A. Sommerfield.
Oh my God.
Yep. And
incredible.
Yeah. So we were sent links on non-sexual, like behind the scenes, how porn actors act, because they wanted us to have the dramaturgy on like how to properly be if we were like on a porn set.
Oh my God.
Directions on how to dress. Like I had to wear a toga with no shirt. There was a whole scene where, like, no joke, we played out partial porn scenes, and we were supposed to, like, there was a moment where I'm supposed to be potentially getting like a blowjob. And this was done live online in front of an audience of 80 people. What? Of course, like, we're all on our own Zoom screens, and people are like blacked out when you can't see. And then there's this moment where I am supposed to spill like this goblet of grape juice that's supposed to be wine, like all over myself. And I'm supposed to be like, oh, yes. And there's like a couple other actors that are supposed to be pretending on screen that they're like licking it off of me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, shit gets wild. And then what's so fucking funny about this little play is that it, like, there are moments where the director actually comes in and goes, cut. We got to go back. We got to redo this scene. So I had to do the grape juice dropping on myself bit twice. And then it cuts away from the actual porno, and it's following the actors. And my character, who's supposed to be Anthony, who is like this new young hotshot to the porn industry, is working on alongside this guy who's playing Octavian, who's like been there. And I remember, I think his name was Fox, this very handsome, good looking, big burly black guy. And I was like, and the ending of the script, which is so funny, is Anthony goes up to the director and was like, hey, so I don't really like, I didn't get this in the script. What do you mean that like Octavian and Anthony, it just says here, like, get into it. What do you mean by that? And the director's like, well, Octavian's gonna fuck Anthony. And Anthony's like, wait, what? I'm straight. What do you mean? And it just like dives into this whole thing where the actors, the porn actors, confront each other, who Octavian and Anthony, and Octavian, the actor of them, literally calls out the actor of Anthony and is like, dude, you wouldn't be doing this if you weren't bi at the very least. And it gets like, it actually gets very serious, and it dives into like the questioning of your sexuality and stuff like that. It had some really good stuff, but it was very horny. Much like starts off spoof, horny, and then it just gets to the end where like
super
this guy's totally questioning himself and like, what is his sexual belief? Is he just repressed who he is this entire time? But it uses some Shakespearean language during the porn scenes. It was very interesting.
So I have 2 follow-up questions.
Okay.
One, does this exist in video anywhere?
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah. How do I get access to this?
It happened live, so it exists somewhere.
I'm assuming it does. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not.
Okay.
Feel free to look it up. I'm already embarrassed enough. But yeah, it's called Octavian Augustus, A Tale of Topping by Nick Sommerfield.
All I'm saying is if I find it, it becomes the first paid subscription for the podcast.
Yeah. No, it was really funny. And then the second one I did was second show I did was
nobody cares, Will.
No, you'll like this because it was another
they're
online
deep on
scene
YouTube right now.
where I had to be shirtless, and it was Achilles and Patroclus, and Patrocles. They had me say his name wrong the entire time. I actually fought with the writer of this script. I was like, that's not how you say the fucking name. But yeah, I had to be shirtless, and that took on. It was before the book Achilles came out that everybody's into, where it like really deep dived into their actual relationship, not just as friends for all those old male translators.
They were roommates.
Yeah, they were roommates.
Confirmed bachelors.
Yeah, so it was very interesting because it was the first time I ever got cast in shows where I had to portray someone who was either bi or gay or anything else, which was very interesting. So yeah, that's there you go.
Wow.
And honestly, this answer did not disappoint. That was more than I possibly dreamed of.
Yeah, what did your now wife think of these shows?
Yeah.
She would come out before we started the performances because I had to do that show 3 times online. She would always come out and be like, "Nice toga." And give me a wink and walk away.
Remember, you're straight, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, she would tease me endlessly about it. But she got a real kick out of it.
Yeah. We love Danny.
Yep. So there you go. I legally answered
Great
your
work,
questions.
Will.
Wow.
Strong. Hey, sometimes the buildup is worth it, and this is such a case.
Yeah, I agree.
It's about
Would you say the edging is finally over?
Patient.
Yes, I would agree. Well, thank you very much for joining us for a very special episode of Bonus Action. I hope you can join us next time. Next time we have Bonus Action anyway, we are going to get into the meat of Beligdenstone.
Yeah.
Will it be 1 episode? Will it be 2? I don't know yet. That's a lot more episodes than we covered in this past one, so we might have to cut that up. We'll see how we're feeling. Maybe we'll just do an extra long. Who knows?
We also need to talk about that little bit at the bottom of the chasm where Scylla had that encounter with Dagon.
Yeah, we'll have to lead into it and then split it.
I have. Sorry, wrap up. Cut me, it's fine.
I'll ignore Brandon as usual. Thank you very much. It's been a great time. And always keep it classy, San Diego. And if you're still watching, that means you're on the YouTube. Like, follow, comment, subscribe, send it to your dad. Maybe it'll finally warm his heart.
Probably
it
not.
didn't work. Didn't work last time.
Dropping.
Don't bet on it.
No.
Bye.